Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 2565. Today, since we have the Syndullas back into Star Wars storytelling on an active basis, I thought we'd do a brief history of the Syndulla family to catch you up where we're at. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7 by 7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, the Syndulla family looms large in Star Wars storytelling, particularly in the fight against the Galactic Empire, and that's of course because of Hera Syndulla and her actions as part of a rebel cell that eventually joined up with the larger effort of the Alliance to restore the Republic, also known as the Rebel Alliance. But you could say that rebellion is a Syndulla family tradition, as it were, because Cham Syndulla, Hera's father, did a lot of freedom fighting of his own. And in fact, Hera moving on to fight against the Galactic Empire is the result of a disagreement, if you will, between her and her father, because Cham Syndulla was particularly focused on Ryloth itself, and Hera thought that the focus shouldn't just be on Ryloth, but on the broader Galactic Empire. And that led to, a break between them, and Hera went off to pursue her efforts to defend the galaxy against the Galactic Empire and left Cham on Ryloth. And of course, Hera's efforts to restore the Republic are chronicled in Star Wars Rebels in great detail. As far as Cham's activities, though, he casts kind of a large shadow over Star Wars storytelling, even though he's only appeared now in 5 cartoon episodes and 1 book. That novel being Lords of the Sith by Paul Kemp, that was released many years ago. So basically, Cham comes into Star Wars storytelling in a couple of Clone Wars episodes where the Separatists have invaded Ryloth and Cham is leading a resistance against them, but unfortunately his forces aren't up to the overwhelming task of dealing with the Separatists, and so initially the Republic sends the Jedi I'm a gun D, or I'm gonna die, as it's too close to that. It's too close to that. And some limited Republic forces, but they aren't enough to be able to repel the Separatists. They are enough to help the Twi'leks get to safety at some level, but I'm a gun D. Oh, gosh, I keep tripping over it. I'm a gun D. Gets killed while he is trying to protect the escape of Cham Syndulla and his Twi'lek resistance. So, certainly a noble deed done. And the Republic eventually sends more troops and Mace Windu to try and help out, which, Cham Syndulla is distrustful of the situation because it's not like they were very helpful the first time around. And Orn Free Taa, who is the notoriously corrupt senator from Ryloth, how do these senators get in anyway? That's still so confusing. They don't trust each other and they're not sure they want to work with the Republic. And so ultimately Mace Windu has to negotiate an agreement with them where Orn Free Taa says that he will not allow the Republic to, establish any sort of ongoing military presence on Ryloth, and Cham Syndulla says that he will promise not to seek political power, because this is the thing that Orn Free Taa is worried about, that everybody loves Cham Syndulla and nobody likes him, and Orn Free Taa loves his power and doesn't want Cham to take that power away. He sees Cham as a threat to his own fortunes, and so with that promise in place, then the Republic is allowed to come in and repel the Separatist invasion. And now, as we've seen in the Bad Batch, it isn't the Republic that establishes a foothold on Ryloth, but it's the Galactic Empire. And so you can just imagine how aggravated Cham Syndulla would be about the situation, even though he presents as saying, hey, we've got to give peace a chance, right? So when things go bad over this situation, this is why I believe we're going to see Cham establish the Free Ryloth movement, which is then later referenced in Lords of the Sith and also in Star Wars Rebels. Now, we know that the story in the Bad Batch is taking place roughly in 19 BBY because it's not long after the events of Revenge of the Sith. It's about 5 years later that Lords of the Sith takes place. That novel is the one where Cham Syndulla tries to set a trap for Emperor Palpatine and Lord Vader, assassinate them both, thinking that that's going to do, a great job of toppling the Empire. Well, as you might imagine, things don't go the way that Cham might have hoped, and he barely escapes with his life, and most of the Free Ryloth movement people involved are killed, unfortunately. And then many years later in Star Wars Rebels, Hera and Cham end up on a mission together with the idea of capturing an Imperial ship, but Cham has other ideas about this. He thinks that it would be more inspirational to the people of Ryloth if they just blow the thing up, and that of course leads to friction between Ham and Chera. Did I just say that? Cham and Hera, oh my gosh, I'm gonna leave that in just because it's ridiculous. And ultimately things naturally work out for the best because that's what they do. And Cham and Hera are able to reconcile, and Cham is able to come around to the idea that, yeah, maybe it is more important not just to focus on Ryloth, but if you've got the ability to, think about the broader fight that needs to happen, then yeah, you may as well, consider that too. And this is even despite the fact that Hera, in order to effect an escape, because Grand Admiral Thrawn is involved in all this, ends up destroying the Syndulla family home. And yeah, they see it ultimately as a necessary thing in order to get everybody out and safe and survive the machinations that Thrawn had been up to at that time. So that's what we know about the Syndulla family in a nutshell, basically. And there are some open questions that could potentially be answered by this upcoming episode of The Bad Batch, or possibly other ones as we get further down the line. Number one is the fate of Eleni Syndulla. So that's Cham's wife and Hera's mother, and Eleni is supposedly going to die at some point. Well, I say that, what I really mean to say in particular is that she's already passed away by the time Hera and Cham are reunited in Star Wars Rebels. So it's just a question of when does she die, and is it as a result of rebellious activity? So possible that that could happen on this episode. There is also a young son somewhere and a brother for Hera, but we don't know his fate other than supposedly he passed away at a young age also. No details on that just yet. And the third and final thing is that we don't know at what point Hera left Ryloth, when she had the disagreement with her father that caused her to leave and pursue other avenues of rebellion. It seems like this might be a little young for her potentially to do it at age 10, but yeah, it's certainly an open possibility. But you would also think that because the focus really is on the Empire, on Ryloth right now, and the threat is kind of very immediate to the Syndulla family and to their close compatriots like Gobi Glee, who is an uncle to Hera, at least, in name, if not necessarily in bloodline. I don't know if we've officially heard that Gobi Glee is actually related to the Syndullas. I don't think we know that for sure just yet. But the fact that this is a very personal situation right now suggests that Hera's not necessarily leaving as a part of this story arc, that's still something that's going to happen down the line. And so there you go, a brief history of Syndulla family matters, so that way you are fully up to date as we continue on the Ryloth storyline in The Bad Batch, and that is going to do it for this episode of the show as well. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.